Greetings, family. Sister Shanice in the house. Welcome, welcome to Thursday night edition of the Sister Shanice Show. I want to thank you so much in advance for joining us this evening. I want to thank you in advance for liking the show, for subscribing. Thank you so much. And I thought I'd put this on mute, but obviously I haven't. Isn't it just a good start? Well, the good thing is that I seem to be coming through okay. And hopefully you will all be coming through and joining me very shortly as well. I'm delighted to inform you that His Royal Highness will actually be joining us today as well. As you know, he's recently returned from the UK after having done a tour of the UK for African Liberation Day. And so, you know, obviously, we're really excited that he was able to make it to the UKKK to do that tour. And for everyone that managed to make the event, you know, I hope you had a phenomenal time. Yes, they were in Manchester, in Bristol, in Birmingham, you know, and as you know as well, these places have all got new names as well because, you know, our great leader, His Royal Highness, say, you know, if they can come to Africa and rename our rivers and our cities and our lakes, etc., then we can surely go to the UKKK and do the same. And so, you know, that's exactly what he did. And so, family, we have got a really interesting show lined up for you today. I'm just going to get the information and the links out to people so that the family knows that we are indeed live. You know how it goes. Please help us to spread the word and let everyone know that we are live. We've got an interesting show lined up for you today. It's going to be a very interesting conversation, and you hopefully are going to be participating in that conversation as well. And so please let everybody know that we are live and that they can log on and join us here on YouTube. Wow, as you can tell from, you know, the water that's dripping off of me, that I'm still on the continent. And it's getting very hot in here now. It's getting very hot out here because we are approaching what they call rainy season. And so it gets very humid, it gets very hot, you know, but it's all good. I'm not complaining. So hit me up in the chat, family. Let me know that you're in the house. Let me know, yeah, that you're hearing me loud and clear. Hopefully I'm coming through okay. And, you know, as soon as we've got a few of you through the door, we will be starting. So I'm just editing and doing a few things in the background here so that I can get the information out, the links out to the family. And to those of you who have already found me, big up yourself. Asante Sana. Thank you so much. More love, more strength, more Vurun power to each and every one of you. And what's been going on this strong in your neck of the woods? Let me know so that, you know, we can just share. Where are you tuning in from? Where in the world are you? Are you in the UKKK or the United States of America, or are you on the continent? Let me know where you are. I would love to be able to big up your nation and to get an idea of what the coverage is as well. Where are our listeners? Where are our family members? Where are our friends? So just sending out a few links. And to those of you that joined me yesterday, oh, wow. At first I was struggling because we had some issues with the internet. You know how it is here. Often have issues with the internet, but that doesn't stop me. That doesn't stop us at all. And even if we have some challenges today, hopefully, you know, we will just be able to push on. All righty. So let me send out the link to a few family members. Yeah, if you joined me yesterday, I was sharing with you some of the research that I had been doing into our history, African history in Britain. And not many of us actually are aware of the extent to which we actually have a history in Britain, because, you know, it has been so well concealed. Imagine, you know, we've got this huge amount of history in Britain. Imagine we are the founding fathers of that country. Imagine we are the ones that brought civilization to Britain. Imagine we are the ones that brought the sciences, the engineering, you know, the marine life. We brought it all. We are the first miners. Everything that Britain is built on today, yeah, is based on what we had actually brought to the UKKK. And do we get any credit for it? No. Just like, you know, our more recent ancestors who came in the Windrush, during the Windrush era, built the NHS, cleaned up Britain, helped to build what is standing today in the country. But did they get any recognition for it? Do they get the credit for it? Hell no. By the time our ancestors and our parents, you know, reached 60, 70, 80, and were too old to work, what do they want to do? They want to send them back to the Caribbean. What a wicked something. Oh my gosh. So are them the kind of people we are dealing with, you know? But those of us who are in the know, we don't know. We know how them steer. Those of us who are not in the know need to get to know. And, you know, hopefully you'll wake up and get to know sooner rather than later, because it's a serious thing going around us, wherever we are in the world. And as our beloved ancestor, John Henry Clark, says, we have no friends. If we think we've got friends in this world, and if we are going like we have friends in this world and don't realize, say, you know, that isn't the case, then we will wake up one day and find that we are in even deeper, in an even deeper mess than we're in at the moment. And so, you know, that's why these types of programs are important, because it's an awakening. It's about us waking our people up from the slumber that we find ourselves in. And, you know, when you consider what we have been through as a people, you know, we have come a long, 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 long way. And it's a miracle, you know, that we're still standing. I shouldn't say it's a miracle. It's due to the works of our ancestors that we are still standing. It's their bravery. It's their courageousness. It's their determination. It was their determination to free us as a people. Why we're not in the same situation that we were in about 100 years ago, just over 100 years ago or so. So if we think those same people who are around us today actually, you know, willingly freed us, we need to wake up and realize that it never got so. No, it never got so indeed. It's our ancestors, our people who did the works to actually free us as a people. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the chat now and welcome our audience members. Hopefully you've been leaving me some messages in the chat. Yes, I can see some messages there. Me put on my glasses so I can read them. Hey, rise up, family. Okay. Oh, Sister Betty is in the house. Rise up, Sister Betty. Hotep to Brother Kwame Aboje as well. Oh, welcome, welcome. We've got Papa Chisiwe in the house as well. Rise you up. He said, Akwaba, Empress Shanice, Sister Shanice. Asante Sana for your informative content. Asante Sana watching from Bermuda. Oh, welcome, welcome, my brother from Bermuda. And I want to rise. He also is rising up. Our beloved President Ibrahim Traore, saying, "Viva, viva, 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 Ibrahim Traore, viva, viva." This channel stands with Ibrahim Traore and all the citizens of Burkina Faso, Niger, and of course Mali. We love you. We love you. We love you. And we are so proud of you. We are so proud of you. I want to rise up Brother Kwame Aboje again. I mean, I just love his posts. He's always posting and keeping the chat alive. Thank you so, so much. And he says that he's been celebrating ALD in London for 31 years. Rise up to you, beloved. if I was in the UK, KK, I would have been at the ALD events as well. I used to go to the ones in Birmingham and the ones in London. And it's such a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for our family members, to come together in unity, in oneness. Yeah, it's an opportunity to review where we're at in terms of the liberation struggle and where we need to go. And I just can imagine, how ALD must have been on fire this particular year with the moves that are happening on the continent. Wow, wow, wow. We knew, those of us in the diaspora, didn't we, that, once our brothers and sisters on the continent, got the messages, the Pan-African messages, once they got the books, once they got the understanding, once they got the enlightenment, that they would rise in power, and they are rising, and it is a good thing to see. Now that they're rising, they're going to have to protect themselves, protect their villages, protect their countries. These people that we live amongst, them are the devil themselves. They're wicked, they're wicked, they're wicked. I just saw the other day on the news how they sent truckloads of drones to Russia. Trucks of drones, yeah? So in one convoy of trucks, you had the drones. And in another convoy, totally separate, you had the devices that could detonate the drones. And when they managed to get them all into the heart of Russia, then there was an operation to put them together, and then they striked Russia's aeroplanes, bombers. They struck them and took out a number of them. And, this was in the heart of Russia. And then after them don't do that, because it's Ukraine, that's behind it with all of their Western powers that's backing them, so they're all gunning for Russia right now. We know why. We don't know why. But it's also an eye-opener in terms of the technology that they're using and the means and the schemes that they're involved in, in order to try and, make their enemies, crumble. But, Putin is going to be standing firm and strong, and that he's going to be responding equally as well. So I can see that we've got quite a few of you in the house, but I've only got 5 likes, 6 likes now. Come on, everybody, give me a thumbs up. It's absolutely free to do so. Our special guest is going to be joining us probably in about 15 minutes time or so. And so, we want him to come into a house that's full of love and appreciate love, so rise up, rise up. Papa Cheesy Way, he says, Papa Cheesy, he says, Brother Kwame, true that I had my Earth Strong 23rd of May, 75 young, in the Bermuda. Rise up, Papa. That's so young you is, 75 years young. Oh, more love to you. Yeah. And Brother Carmen said Africans were lawyers, doctors, schools, scholars, builders. Absolutely. The people that built these nations, those of us and our ancestors who built the West and who were the former builders of Britain as well, were great scholars, learned people. The first universities, of course, were all over Africa, and the evidence is still there until this day. And, through those universities and through the courts yards that we had where the learning went on, and through the systems of learning that we had in Africa in place during those ancient times, we developed such sophisticated societies. But we're in a situation today where, our ancient ways have been almost totally destroyed. And although they have been physically destroyed, the knowledge of our ancient system is still in our DNA. And we're going to have to find those places and spaces to allow us to go in and do some, introspection, so that we can bring back into existence some of the greatness that we had established back in the days. So rise up, family in the house, and a special one more year pandem for Papa Cheesy. Rise up. Let's see, he's got a couple of other messages. He's saying, yes, family, the orange person has put out a travel stop on certain countries like African, Al-Qabilan, and Caribbean islands. Well, let them stay with them there. We don't need them coming to our countries. We're the ones who need to be traveling to and from our countries and be bringing our hard-earned money to those countries. So to rise up to those of you who spend, your holidays in the Caribbean or in Africa. So that's what we ought to be doing. Rise up, rise up, rise up. Okay, so let me start introducing the topic for conversation today. We're going to be joined at some point soon by our beloved Royal Highness, His Royal Highness Shangatambiri Mapanga. So while we wait for His Royal Highness Shangatambiri Mapanga to join us, we are going to, have a preliminary conversation about the topic. So the topic today, we're asking the question, is there a war on the Black woman's womb to prevent her from having offsprings? Is there a war on the Black woman's womb to prevent her from having offsprings? Is there a covert agenda to stop the Black woman from reproducing? If so, why would such an agenda exist? So this is the topic that we're going to be probing today in our conversation with His Royal Highness. He specifically asked that we have this conversation because he's actually written a book around this as well. And you can go to Amazon to get a copy of the book. And as soon as I get back home, I will be getting my copy of the book. It's called A Contested Ground Through Women. A Contested Ground Through Women. And you can actually get that for $9.99 via Amazon, okay? And as you know, our king, Joshua Mapanga, he's a social entrepreneur, he's a speaker, he's an author. I mean, he's no ordinary man. I mean, he is, he stands tall in the face against injustice. And, he's well-read and he's written a few books, and this is one of them. And we have to support our authors. And as soon as I get back, I will be getting my copy of this book. And I hope that you will be getting a copy of this book too. And so, we were having the conversation on my last show with His Royal Highness, and didn't he put me in the hot seat? He was talking about the important role for us as Africans. And, he was saying he was almost saying in my own words, it's a sin, if we as African women, don't have, he said 100, but, my interpretation of 100 babies is that from having, a few children, those children will go on to have children. And then those children will go on to have children, and so on. And a few generations down the line, if we're all multiplying at the scale that we ought to be and reproducing at the scale that we ought to be, then yes, at some point, even if I'm in my grave, I would have given birth to 100 children. So my mother, for example, she gave birth to 8 children. Her 8 children gave birth to about 20 plus children. And now those 20 plus children are giving birth to children. I've got, grandnephews now and a grandniece, who's about to have a child. And so even our grandchildren and her great grandchildren are having children now. And I think if I was to do the calculation, my mother, who left us about 20 plus years ago now, but dearly, dearly missed. She was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mother with a wonderful spirit. She must have about 100 of us now. And so I think that's what he meant. But he, His Royal Highness can explain for himself when he comes. And, is this something that the white world actually fear? The Black woman's ability to reproduce and to reproduce at such great numbers? You can answer some of these questions for me in the chat. So the question that we're going to be asking today is whether or not there is a covert agenda to actually hinder the reproductive rights of us as Black women. So some, this may be a sensitive topic. To some, it might be a provocative topic. And on a wider level, it's a conversation that we need to have, especially if, the question is set within the context of racism, which is our historical experience. And also, if we begin to think about the political and the socio-economic realities of the Western world in particular, and why they, it might be said and suggested, might want to drive such an agenda, if an agenda exists. But we're just going to be exploring the ideas to whether or not such a covert agenda actually exists to, get in the way of our reproduction as African women. Is there, some sort of conspiracy? Is there, an attack, a covert attack against us as Black women? And if there is, how is it coming at us? And, we need to analyze this. We need to have a deep analysis of the situation that we're faced with, because, if something like this is happening and we're totally oblivious to it, then we're going to be walking into the traps that have been set for us as a people. And so we need to have the conversation, we need to do the analysis, and we need to uncover if there are any disturbing patterns, any systematic patterns that seem to be happening out there that could, be detrimental to us as African women. And so, where's my tissue? And so we need to be having the conversation. So I want to rise up, our beloved His Royal Highness, for putting that discussion out there for us to have a conversation about today. Okay, so we're going to go beyond the personal, and we're going to be looking at it also from a community perspective. I'm saying that, but when His Royal Highness comes, he might try and put me on the spot again. But hey ho, my shoulders are growing and my back is getting thick. Okay, and so we need to have the conversation, and we need to consider whether or not there is, an orchestrated effort out there, whether deliberate, whether structural, or whether unwittingly, unintentionally. Are there any systems out there that could be limiting our reproduction as Black women? And we have to explore this hypothesis, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, so let me quickly go over to the chat and make sure that you're with me on this, and get some idea of what some of your initial thoughts may be on this topic. And it's a really important conversation for us to have. Brother Kwame, he says, Sister Shanice, Africans built our own society. Yes, we did, out of our mamaland. Yes, we traveled to the world and we built around the entire globe. He's already rising up, Baba Mapanga. Yes, indeed. And he says our African women are targeted from top to bottom. So we have a brother who believes we are being targeted. Sister Betty says, yes, because we are the mother of the world. That's right. We are the mother, definitely the first women of the world. We as African women, we gave birth to humanity. We didn't give birth. My position on this. We didn't give birth to defects. We didn't give birth to non-melanated beings. They are a different species, in my opinion. I know there's a popular view out there, that we are the ones who birthed them. But how that happened, don't forget, is that, they would have landed on this planet, or however they arrived. But anyway, when we first came into contact with them, they were coming out of the Caucasus Mountains in their uncivilized and savage state. And they say that themselves. They talk about, cannibalism during those times. They talk about, the fact that obviously they were uncivilized, they were unwashed, they were, subhumans at that time when they came out of the Caucasus Mountains. And so I can only imagine, the rate that must have been going on, when they came and came across us, already in that part of the world. Because remember, the Caucasus spread from Russia all the way across to Asia. there's a huge strait. And so they came out, when the ice cap melted, all these beings come crawling out, and they were raping, they were behaving in the most unbelievably savage way. But over the centuries of this, intermingling and intermixing, and this raping and this rebirthing of these mixed species, and then those that were rebirthed and birthed, then going, and again mixing with more blacks over the centuries. Obviously we humanized them, and today they are, at their most humanist, if that's such a word, state than they were when they first crawled out of those mountains. And it's not me saying that they crawled out the mountains all four. They say that themselves. Okay, so in terms of how we gave birth to them, it would have been through the rape or something like that. I just cannot imagine, any of our ancestors, willingly going with creatures. And so, they are a different species, and, they came out of the Caucasus Mountains and found us there as civilized people. We, by that time when they came out the mountains, we'd already established cities, we'd established kingdoms. We were carving monuments and buildings out of stone. We built the pyramids. We were building ceremonial temples. We had our religions, our faith. We were highly civilized as a people. They totally underestimate how old we are. There are sunken cities. They're finding cities today, that they don't have any idea, how long they've been there for, when they were built. But because they want to make out that we are recent, just because they are, quite often they underestimate, our age as a people. Anyway, going back now to this agenda. Is their agenda to stop the Black woman reproducing? Let's look at the historical context and assess this hypothesis. Well, first of all, we have to acknowledge the fact that, historically, there has been the dehumanization of us as African women. So for as long as, these people have been the ones who have been in control and have been dominating the world, after the fall of us as Africans, because we were fighting among ourselves so much and didn't realize while we were fighting among ourselves and using these species in our armies to fight against our enemy, those who we thought were our enemies, who looked like us. We didn't realize that we were just weakening ourselves as a people so that they could step in and take over. And we didn't realize that until it was too late. But anyway, this is what happened. They come in now and they are in control. And they are about 7% or so of the entire population, but because they are together and because they have that overstanding, in terms of who they are as a people, and because, they are able to move together as one, not, and if we were able to, but they are moving together as one as a people, they've been able to switch the entire narrative and give the impression that we are the subhuman ones, and we are the ones who, therefore, they feel that they can dehumanize. And so there is this historical context now in more recent times where we as a people have been dehumanized, especially the women. And that happened, largely during the so-called period of our enslavement, when we were, prisoners of wars on their plantation. We were never slaves, we were prisoners of war. They kidnapped us. There was war going on in our cities and in our kingdoms. And those of us who were captured were then traded as goods, as war trophies, and we were taken as prisoners of war, and we put on those plantations. And it was during that time that we were stripped of our identity, stripped of our names. Well, actually, we kept our names, most of us, but we were stripped of our heritage, of our land. We were stripped of everything that we stood for. And these people, they gained substantially economically from that dehumanization of us. As you can see, family, I'm proud to inform you we have been joined by His Royal Highness, Mbiri, Changa Mbiri, Joshua Mapanga. Let me turn on my speaker box to make sure that I can hear you coming through loud and clear. Greetings, beloved. How are you? Let's make sure that
all is well. All is well.
Oh, I'm glad to hear your voice. It's an absolute privilege and honor to have you join us today. And the topic we're discussing is the one that you asked that we put on the table and have the conversation about. So I was just doing a bit of preliminary introduction, but I'll pause and we'll come back to that. Your feet have literally just touched the ground, just a couple of hours ago. And so, how was the?
If it was not you, I would not have taken the appointment. I would have just said, "Give me a break. Give me a break. Let me just rest a little while and catch my breath." But Shanice being Shanice, I said, "Okay, let me give the extra." Yeah, very important
Thank you
subject.
so much.
Very
Yeah, I
important
just want to
subject
thank
that you have on the table today. Oh, sorry. And I actually wrote a book on that subject, the book Women in the Kitchen or Contested Ground. The whole issue is as an alpha male, I consider myself an alpha male, looking into the women's space. I thought maybe women wanted to hear what happens in our heads as men. And the book goes on to extend itself into the employment or the economics of women, that is women in the boardroom, the agriculture and social responsibility of women, that is women in the kitchen, and their personal gratification, women in the bedroom. So almost like how does a woman migrate herself from work to kitchen to bedroom. So it's a small little booklet divided into 4 sections. The first section would be dealing with one subject, the subject, but the self-help sort of book. But the political side of that, which I put on the introduction, was actually to debate the concept of wars. All the wars on earth are being fought for women. Because if we can equate women to the reason of being, and we can equate women to land, our spaces of production and reproduction, then land is the equivalent to a woman. That's why we have Mother Africa in the feminine, not in the masculine. So what is the femininity of land, which then duplicates itself into the femininity of women? And what and how does masculinity deal with the abundance of feminine energy around them? Water is feminine, air is feminine, art is feminine, land is feminine, women are feminine. Creation in itself, flowers and everything is feminine. Seeds are feminine. And how does man migrate his masculinity around so much abundant energy of femininity? It's a beautiful piece of work. I might end up doing actually a second edition to that book, but which now includes the women and cosmology, the beadwork and other things. But for the time being, I have actually, that offering is available. People can order that book. I can send some few to you. You can distribute some of your keen listeners out there. But yes, it's a very important subject. I just thought I would raise the introduction in the line that without women, there is no man. Even when we are sitting alone as men, we say we men, so it is still the plural side of women, we men, so it's a beautiful subject. I look forward to our conversation. I thank you.
We thank you so much. I want to thank you on behalf of our entire audience, for going out your way today so that we could have this conversation. We are indeed honored. And, as you're saying, it's a very important discussion that we need to have. And I was reminding the audience earlier that your book is available on Amazon, where it's called A Contested Ground Through Women. A Contested Ground Through Women. by Mapanga Joshua. So please make sure you get a copy. I look forward to getting my copy as soon as I get back to the UKKK. And
they were sold out. They were sold out. You might have to call me. Yes, they were sold out. So I might have to send you your copy. I've a bit of stock in my house here. I can organize a copy.
But won't Amazon just print it if we order via Amazon? They ought to.
Amazon, I'm still learning how those criminals work. Honestly, someone actually is doing mischief in my background. I don't know who it is who has grabbed my book. They are printing it illegally in the background and supplying Amazon. So Amazon is selling the book, but I don't have a contract with Amazon. So
wow.
I'm still trying to figure out who is doing that and why are they doing it. Yes, so it's quite a bad thing.
What's your name? Wow.
Oh man, they're.
So we need to get hard copies directly from you, do we?
Then at least I can make that extra £5. But Amazon is selling it, I think, for about, they are printing it for free, so they are selling the book for about £7.
$9.99 in dollars.
$9.99. So they're printing it for nothing, and they're selling it for nothing, and they're paying me nothing.
Wow, they're paying somebody. They must be paying somebody. So somebody's uploaded that book to Amazon. I think it needs looking into because
you can help me. You can help me. You can help me on that. I'm doing so many things. I just noticed, London actually, and I don't know for how many months this has been going on. And maybe I need to sue Amazon. Maybe I'm a millionaire. I must just sue them for 3-4 million. I don't care. We could have sold enough copies just by suing Amazon. But how do you sell a copy from a man and who is not in, with the author is not on the contract? How are you selling that book?
Right. That needs looking into.
They're criminals. They're criminals, and they look after each other.
Legal patriotism. It shouldn't be happening, but obviously it is. So that's something that needs to be looked into. I can assist, and there may even be ones in the audience who have more insights into how this could be happening. Hook us up, yeah? Let us know maybe what steps need to be taken in order to investigate this, but definitely needs investigating. So do try and get your book, therefore, via King Mapanga. What I'll do, we'll have a separate conversation to see if maybe it could be uploaded to Gumroad instead, which will go directly to you once your account is set up there. Yeah. And, Amazon could be asked to take it down. So, but I'm sure it's a very important book. I do look forward to reading it. And yeah, I agree with you. As women, we're about life, bringing forth life, just like, nature itself is about life, as you were saying, the flowers, the animal kingdom world. It's, we are givers of life, bringing forth of life. And you were saying that as women, we should have at least 100 children. I mean, I was explaining that to me, maybe, as a woman, I have children, and then my children have children, and those children have children, and 3-4 generations down the line, I've given birth to 100 children. But let me allow you, please, to give us a bit of an explanation on that, because I'm sure some of us as women think, 100 children, oh my gosh, it's impossible.
I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, then the whole concept of creation and the Black woman being the mother of it all becomes a reality, because you give birth to 2-3 children, they give birth to 5 or 6. The 5 or 6, each one gives birth to 3, 5, 10, 10 on 10, 20 on 30, 50 on 60. So if you could look back into creation, surely there is a mother somewhere there, sitting there looking at all of us as her children and grandchildren. And I think the concept of motherhood is upon. Literally, as soon as you see another human being, you can only say you've seen their mother. And their mother leads you to their mother. Their mother leads you to their mother, and their mother and your mother are mothers who are coming from the same mother, and that mother comes, and it just for me, it becomes the unifying factor of what is on the left and what is on the right, unites at the center. So when we begin to put our hands together, we are saying, I may not understand the left from where you're coming from. I may not understand the right from where you're coming from. But when we put our hands together, surely the genealogies within every African's hands, if you can trace not less than 5, 10, 15, 16 generations, you may actually find that we have less divisions amongst us than what we have come to claim. And therefore, women become the center, not only of reproduction, but the political center. And even if the Western world and other people may not look at it from that angle, that when they interpret our culture, they would say women were being used for trading amongst men, amongst the wars, and what. Yeah, it may sound a bit terrible to the modern person, but look at it from the positive side. 1,000 men die, and one young girl walks across the field as a wife, and all the men put their sword down, and wars end. Everyone goes home, and peace has been broken. And you're looking at it from the 21st century, that what about her right? Okay, but what about the 1,000 men that are lying on the ground, their husbands, their children, their wives, etc.? And one young girl could put peace between 10, 20,000 warriors at war. How much power is that? How much power is that? So when we look at it from in retrospect, it may look like African, but even in Europe, I think the one did that also, the princesses and princes and queens of London being black. One might just want to find out, how did the Moors give the Germans their daughter as a wife to avoid war in the Anglo-Saxon War? Beautiful research for someone to do. So there you find a black woman again, standing right in the midst of the European history, being the peace broker and the establisher of one of the strongest monarchs and empires in the Warombi. Now Europe is no longer Europe, it's called Warombi, which means the plunderers. One African woman stands in Warombi and unites Pambet for me, that is Britain, into a monarch that is established up to date. And the basis of that, it is not the white people, it is the black African woman. Charlotte, Mama Charlotte.
Yes, and she was one of many African queens, and there were many African kings as well. Yes, indeed, and they erased a lot of that history, but we're finding out, about that history that has been erased. And so, as African women in particular, we have, as the mothers of civilization, have been a critical, really, in keeping humanity going. And so in the 20th century, now if we come to modern times, there seems to be, from some of the research, that it suggests that there's methods that are being put in place to control the population. And a lot of us are maybe unaware of the extent to which this is actually happening. But there is evidence to suggest that there are programs, especially in Africa, and some of these programs are quite unethical as well, where, there's an agenda to maybe stop or to deter African women from reproducing. It could be through encouraging women to pursue a career. It could be by encouraging women to attend these Planned Parenthood clinics that they put in the Black communities, which, give birth control pills and methods to people, which leads to sterilization that some of our people are unaware of. And then when our women are ready to settle and have children, they find they're unable to do so. And I do know that, in the African culture, if a woman's unable to, give her husband children, it's actually perceived as something really really awful. It's like she's not a woman if she can't conceive. And you know, to what extent we wonder, are these programs happening in our community? And could it be part of a deliberate, covert agenda, maybe to reduce the population? I wonder if you could share your thoughts on that. I know we have to be cagey in terms of how we speak on these matters, but somehow our people need to be aware that this is being discussed, and we need to have the conversation. What say you, Your Royal Highness?
It's a sensitive subject, not because it's sensitive, but because there are other interested parties that are scared of the African woman. The African woman is the problem, because if she is allowed to reproduce without supervision, she may just populate this whole world and push the white men, Indian men, China men out of the equation. And looking at the capitalistic West and their interest on the African resources, the issue of sterilization is not a poverty alleviation strategy, but a resource preservation strategy. That you cannot afford to have so many Africans sitting on the African continent. It will mean that those who want to take resources from the continent will not have full access to those resources. So Africa is better with fewer people on it, so that the capitalists can actually take advantage of that. But the biggest economies in the world, based on population. Population is the basis of economy. And the African woman is a problem to the capitalistic West, because her reproduction capacity means that the source of reproduction, if it goes unmanaged and ungoverned, then the African woman is actually able to push the capitalist out of his greed through the children that she produces. So issues of contraception, sterilization, including abortion, have become big business. The Mary Stops of this world, they are very active in making sure that, especially African women, you don't want the child, not to get rid of it. You don't want to get rid of it. They don't give same options to white girls, but the African woman, I mean, you look at some stories that we've heard in Kenya where people thought they were taking contraceptive pills and etc., only to discover through research that they were actually being sterilized. And again, this is my biggest fight with African presidents and governments, that they trust the West too much. I would want to start a campaign, not on your page, otherwise we're going to get banned from here. I want to start a campaign actually where we can boycott the WHO, World Health Organization. It's not a World Health Organization, because there are sinister agendas within the World Health Organization that have nothing to do with health at all. I mean, when you find WHO cars capsized in Congo carrying gold and diamonds in them, the question is, how much of those diamonds is health? And this is a reality. You can Google that. You can research that. And the United Nations and World Health Organization carrying the small little flag of health, but they're not doing health. They're not doing nothing. They are sterilizing, they are killing, they are butchering, they are transecting, they are mining, they are sponsoring wars, and etc. So we have woken up now, and I think that honeymoon of abuse is over. But for you as African women, again, we want to challenge you. Please, please, can you duplicate, can you multiply proper genes, identify good men, intelligent people, healthy people, identify warriors, repopulate this world with kings and queens, instead of filling up this continent with drug addicts, silly boys who can't even pull up their pants. Their pants are hanging on their knees. And, you know, you have the keys to the future. So decide what you want the future to look like. And the future that you are making, remember, it is not only your future, it's a future for your children. For these boys that you are reproducing are going to marry your girls. And you will then argue and say the world has gone to the dog. But you never admitted that you gave the world to the dog. And the world has gone to the dog. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So be more selective.
Yes, it does.
Be more selective in your reproduction as women. Men take chances, women make choices. And that's a fact. Unless it is a rape case. Women make choices. You decide. 150 men can come and stand in front of Ishanis. If you don't want them, you don't want them. Until this one comes and they go, think I can have a bit of that. I can duplicate this. But then we need to improve that conversation to your appetites must be based on value so that you don't reproduce redundant, confused, substandard, unethical, gene.
Absolutely. And, from what you've said there, King, it means that a lot of change would need to happen in the society and in the world that we're in, because in the West and also on the continent, we can see how the institutions and the powers that be have made life extremely difficult for the men. In America, for example, we're all very aware of the overpopulation of Black men in the prisons, how Black men are picked up off the street, how they're criminalized in the judiciary system and incarcerated for lengthy periods of time. And then we know that the system is failing the men in the education institutions in America and also in the UK. The UK is not far behind as well in terms of the overrepresentation of our men in the prisons. And, if they're not getting a good education, then it's ruining their opportunities to be able to earn as a man. And if they haven't had a good education, and if they're not in a position where they can earn as a man, it means that it's going to get in the way of their ability to be able to have a family, to marry and to have a wife and a home and a family. So some may argue that all of this is also part of the strategy and the design to, cripple the Black family, to make it even more difficult for us to be able to settle. So, some women will say, oh, it's incredibly difficult to find a man because all the men are either in prison or because they're uneducated and they haven't got a job, they're hanging out on the street corners, they don't want to work, they don't want to do the menial jobs, so they don't want to work, and they don't want to settle. In fact, I was talking to a brother today, may well be listening, obviously not going to call no name, and he was saying to me that he had a stroke. I said, oh my gosh, so who's there to look after you? And he's a big man up in age, and he's living on his own. I'm like, why are you living on your own? Man should not be living alone,
But who wants to settle with the modern woman whose nails are 15 centimeters? She can't even wipe her backside. Whose hair is from India and the other pair is from Peru. Who wants to settle with the African woman who in her mind she's in fantasizing with the white man in terms of values? So that having been said, that even if women say they can sit in all their clubs for all I care and complain that there are no men out there, I could start up another men's organization and actually build a concept that says there are no women out there, and which then becomes a war of words. While you are saying there are no men, we are also saying on our side that there are no women, because your values, your sense of duty, once you are in my house, your rights of reproduction, your rights of employment, your rights of this and this, they have been punctuated by the colonial system. So the colonial system that you believe in, they must find you husbands. You go there, go to Trump, go to Tony Blair, and go find husbands within the system that you believe it can protect you, because male are male chauvinistic, they are egocentric, they are what? Misogamy, yeah, lots of these words, misoeconomic. What? The other day I found myself having a conversation with this lady who was telling me words that I've never heard in all my academic life. That misoeconomic, what kind of man? And all describing men. But the question I had, in South Africa, there was once a campaign where one woman had a problem with a man. Then she started a campaign that says men are dogs. Oh, wow. Then I responded, of course, to the dismay of many people. I went on head on her. And I said, if men are dogs, then what do dogs sleep with? And then I put a full stop. And it did not turn out well. It turned up into a very bad fight between men and women. Did you say that women are bitches? I said, no. But if you say a man is a dog, then what does a dog sleep with? But having said that again, you want to say when they are between your hands and between your legs and between your breast, what do you tell them? That's another level. Level number 3, when they are coming out between your legs and they are breastfeeding in your hands, and this man is all yours to shape, to teach, to instruct, to motivate, to empower. What do you do with him? Because that's not a man who is going to remain as a baby boy forever. He's going to become someone. Instead of teaching these boys how to work and labor and cultivate, big plants, paint walls, fix doors, what do? Take them, put them between our legs, and we braid their hair. We single women. Then we tweeze their eyebrows. We soften their skins. We soften their colors of clothes and make them more feminine. Oh, that's a nice, cute little boy. And to make matters worse, we overexpose these young boys to our femininity. A mother walks in the room, in the house, naked. And the boy has seen enough of this. When he grows up, what is he looking for? He's looking for a man. So I'm not a psychologist, but could it also be that maybe this could be another contributing factor to the same-sex marriages, where even the few men that we have are actually migrating towards other men instead of women. And to make matters worse, the last bus stop are the aunties and the sisters who, when they are bathing us and they are washing us, they are playing with our penises. Some of them even abuse us. Some of them even do gross things. So by the time we are of age, we hate women. I'm just doing group counseling here and group therapy. I hope this message does not land badly in some ears, but truth must be spoken. That women are abused, yes. But can we also speak about men abuse? And when you abuse one man, mark my word, you have created a machine that will abuse 100 women. 100 women. Wow. There are men that are arrested for raping 300, 400 women. One man can cause that amount of damage. Wow. And then you go back to find out, why is this man wired in such a horrible state? And I guarantee you, if you go back on all those men, number one, the first level of their complaint will be that I had an absent father. Don't stop. Go back and ask the next question. So who did you have? My mother brought me up. Okay. Then what did she do? That you have now come to an age where you were brought up by your mother, but you hate women and you are now abusing women, whereas it's women that have. So I hope you can hear the complexity of this issue. We are speaking in the spiritual zone of the psychology of abuse. And within that, yes, the absent father is there, but women have more rights. Government protects them. Once a man does one mistake or two mistakes, and she walks up to court, the government will chase him out of the house. The woman is the one with the right of looking after the child. The man cannot see the child. The mother then pumps information into that boy's child. father is this, father is this, father is this, horrible man, only for him to get to 18 and discover, oops, the man you were telling me that is a horrible man is not such a horrible man. In fact, it's you who is horrible. And table and upside down again. I don't promote abuse, either by men or by women. It is every child's right to grow up with their father and their mother. In case a relationship is broken down, mommy, do us a favor. Never instruct and teach your child to hate their father. Never.
Agree.
If I were you, every fortnight, every week, allow that boy to go and sit with his father. Take him to the doors of his father. There are things that we tell our boys that you cannot tell them as women. In as much as the government has recognized you as better options of bringing up children, but you're not the best option. I can speak for a whole 24 hours on this subject because I brought up 2 girls by myself. They were left in my hand 4 years and 6 years. Our marriage broke down. I destroyed that marriage, of course. I take full responsibility for that. I was busy with Jesus, doing preaching and running around the world. I neglected my marriage and it collapsed. And my wife walked out on me and left me with 2 girls, 4 years and 6 years. I changed diapers. I went into their room midnight to cover them, to make sure that they are not cold. They will have rolled on the bed, dropped on the floor. I learned how to hug them. I learned how to plait their hair. I learned how to spend 6 hours sitting in a salon to get their hair plaited. And, I bought pads for 6 years, not knowing when their periods would begin. That's when actually I wrote that book, Women in the Kitchen, because then I was standing in the kitchen and I started to look into the furniture that was in the kitchen, the oven, the fridges, the stove, the storing spaces, and my mind, being a philosopher, of course, my mind started spinning, and I said, there's no way a woman can be in her kitchen and her brain is working and she can fail in life. You can't. Because you know how much time it will take you to bake your cake. You cannot put flour in the oven and then you go to the salon for 8 hours. You will find the house on fire. So why are you screaming when you don't sleep with your man for 6 months?
Frozen. Our king has frozen, or is it me?
Hello.
Sincere apologies if it's me.
Can you hear me? Hello. It's you who is frozen. Me, I'm good.
Go over to see if you can still see me on the channel.
I can see you. I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, I'm the one that's frozen then. Was it me who was frozen?
It's you who is frozen. I'm on a Wi-Fi here at home. No error. 5 bars full.
Oh, good. Sorry about that.
And I was saying, how can a woman not sleep with her husband for 6 months to a year, and then she takes her panties and her toys out of the cot when she hears that the man has got the girl next door pregnant? No, are you okay? Are you okay in your head? I mean, if you know how to bake, once you put stuff in the oven, young lady, you can't go to the saloon. Hang around and remove these things on time. How do you store your relationships? That's the fridge. What goes into the deep freeze? What goes into the lower? What goes into the upper? Your storages. What do you keep in your storages? What is long term? What is short term? Your floor. How do you clean your floors? Make sure you don't fall. Your tools. How do you use your knives and your forks? Your gas and your electricity, dangerous equipment which can kill you. But you're able to cook every night with those equipments and feed people. How do you manage all this space? And my most favorite of them all is the dustbin. When you remove dustbins, some women, how often do you remove your dustbin in your house? In your kitchen?
Oh, mine gets every day.
Oh, you are a
every
good
day.
woman. Some remove once a day.
But
Some remove.
That's his job.
Some remove once a week. Some remove once a week. Some remove once a month. There are others who remove once a year. Others remove once in 10 years and 15 years and 16 years. When maggots and smell is filled up in the kitchen, yet they are still cooking in that kitchen. Did you think I'm talking about the dustbin? Now, you're talking to me now. So while you are removing the physical dustbin out of your house, the question is, are you also removing the rubbish that is in your heart every week? Why are you still angry 16 years later, and yet you're still cooking in the kitchen, feeding the family from a smelly kitchen? It's a beautiful book. People, please take this book and hear the satire and walk in the corridors of my mind in the silence of my tears and pain while bringing up children. You may just find it. It's a bridge also between the Christian faith and where I am now. So I try to poach a little bit here and there of the Christian principles using the Bible as my tool. I picked up 52 women in the Bible and I put them in stilettos and high heels, the Sarahs, the Rebeccas, and etc. And the Bathshebas. While you're bathing, please close the door. And I'm not talking about the door. So it's written in two levels, you know. And Sarah, when visitors come and your husband did not tell you he's bringing visitors, just be kind enough. Some blessings might be on their way, you know. And when you decide to become a prostitute, Hosea's wife, for example, and you make children with other men and you dump them on this man, I would not want to tell the whole book. It's a brilliant read. I would absolutely recommend this book to every man and every woman. It's a relationship, self-help, conversational. And at the end of that book, then I write, you are now 82 years or 80 years old. I want you to write a letter to yourself at the age of 18 and 20 and tell the young person that you are, what you must do. So it takes you back, it takes you forward, and then it places you right in the middle and making you deceive, helping you to make decisions to the future that you want to attain now. I thank you.
We thank you. We thank you for the time that you spent writing that book. And so obviously when we read it, we've got to have our third eye or our first eye open so that we can pick up on those messages.
Took me 8 years. Took me 8 years. 8 years to put it together.
Wow. Yeah. So, you know, at the heart of all of what was said there, you know, is what you're saying, the importance of the male-female relationship and the family as well, and the role of the woman and the role of the man. And, you know, we're in a situation in the world today where we've got outside forces, the institutions, you know, who are, you know, strategically trying to undermine the Black family. And then, you know, in addition to that, we've got to deal with all the nuances in terms of the Black woman and the Black man and making it work. And we've got all of the external pressures and the other cultures that are coming into play to undermine relationships as well. So as difficult as it is, somehow we have got to make it work. As African women and African men, we have got to make it work. I mean, sometimes I think it's easier for our brothers and sisters on the continent to make relationships and families work, more so than
what makes it so beautiful? What makes it so beautiful, Shanice, is that the African spirituality and African culture fully understood the complexity of relationships between male and female. And hence, once we start talking marriage, it was no longer a personal decision. It was a community decision where your father cannot even make that decision by himself. The first person he calls is his sister, who is your aunt. The aunt will not come alone. She'll come with the grandmother. The grandmother will come with her son, who is the uncle. The uncle will come with the cousin, who is your sister's son. And before you notice it, there's a whole boardroom sitting. And when they are discussing your marriage, the most beautiful thing, They will actually exclude you from your own marriage. They will tell you, go outside. And families would remain talking. Our young girl, our young boy has seen a girl in such a family. What kind of people are they? Do they have a crop? Do they have a field? What kind of children are born there? Do they have criminals? What diseases are they suffering from? What crimes have they committed? Are there generational issues we're dealing with? What is their longevity? Oh, please, auntie, before we send our child there, can you go with your sister or your cousin or your uncle? Pay them a visit. So they would actually send an invoice to the home which you are going to get married. And they go there, spend a week. In the olden days, now they just go there for cosmetics. But traditionally, they would go there for a week, sometimes 2 weeks. They experience the family full. Breakfast, lunch, supper, what? And they go through some ceremonies and learn to study and understand that family. They bring back the feedback. We went to see that family. It is like this, like this. We saw their graves. The aunties are there. This is the only girl child. This is the only boy child. He is number 3 in the family. He already has another 3 children there. She already has another baby there. All those issues will be discovered and brought back to the family. The family then sits down to discuss. And after they finish discussing, then they call you. This is our research. This is what we have found. Is this the family that you want to go and marry into? But our recommendation is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because they understood that you need a support structure. That's why we have a proverb that says it takes a village to bring up a child. When you unpack that proverb on its own, it's more than just a whole group of people are trying to bring up one child. No, that's a very superficial definition. The deep meaning would mean that for a child to be there, the entire village must be involved, because whatever you're going to produce as a young woman will affect us all. The child you are going to produce will either make this community a better community, or that child will destroy this community. So that whole support structure has been substituted by the criminal courts, where we get our criminal certificates. We call criminal marriage certificates, which are a crime scene on their own. How do you give someone a certificate on the day when they are getting married, before they even experience the marriage itself? That's when I knew that this whole thing is corruption. Because you cannot graduate a person before they even start. When you enter the institution, you are given a certificate first. How does that work? So the community would then be involved in the proposals, in the marriage ceremonies. So a woman never married a man in Africa. A woman married a village. A woman married a community. A woman married the land. A woman became one outside of us. Follow me very carefully. One not related to us, but one coming amongst us to duplicate us, so that we can see ourselves. And she becomes the most important person amongst us, a foreigner in our midst who connect us to ourselves. Man, you cannot process that in one sentence. That's something else. The one who is not related to us, but gives birth to all of us. She comes here as a young lady. She becomes a wife. She becomes the mother. She becomes the grandmother. She becomes the grand matriarch, who has the history of this family. So even prayers in African villages are not done by men or women. They're done by the grandmother. This one, who is not one of us, she can speak on our behalf, because out of her loins we all have come. When she prays, she does not pray from her voice. She prays from her womb. Because these problems that have been created They all were on her bosom. That's a different ball game of prayer. Your pastor can pray for you, your father can pray for you, your mother can pray for you, but your grandmother, that's a different kind of a prayer altogether, altogether. One outside of us will now become the center part of us, who has helped us to see ourselves. That's what grandmother means. Mbu, yeah, in Shona. The one who came, and through him, Mbu, we all have seen Yah. We all have seen godliness through her femininity and her reproductive organ. Mbu, Yah. She is the source of our religion and person and being. She is God, if I can say it in a simple word. She is the portal through which we all have become. You forgive me, some of that language is a bit graphic, but it is what it is.
Yeah. What a beautiful culture, you know, we have in some parts of Africa. We have totally lost that in the diaspora. I can give you an example of, you know, that would probably shock you, but there are many of us in the diaspora when I was growing up in my generation who would meet our partners, say, at a party. We'd all get dressed and go out to a party, and you know, we'd meet someone at a party and start dating and courting from there, and maybe you'll meet the parents at some point down the road, and it wasn't a thing by then that you were looking for the approval of the parents, you know, either. I mean, we've just our family systems and values have just totally broken down in the West. And you outlined for us there's such a beautiful role of a woman, the important role of a woman, and why, you know, it was so important for the family, you know, to hold their head up, to be upright, because they were going to be judged at some point, and the importance, you know, of that family, to bring a woman into that family, then her role in that family, you know, wow, there's just nothing like it. I mean, family, I mean, is it just my circle in the world where it all collapsed? But yes.
I think our next visit to Rundonda or to Pompefumi, we can actually become very deliberate. I know there's all sorts of hype around Pan-Africanism and all that beautiful. I take nothing away from that. That is the political side of the African in terms of liberation and restoration, reparation. But I think we can actually put a show together in Rundonda, specifically looking at what was Africa in the past, and what can we,
yes,
as custodians of culture, actually share with the modern parents to say, how do we, and one of the most basic things I would do is actually discuss the issue of Rora, which is the marriage rights, which is the passage, a rite of passage into reproduction, which is a playing field, a playing ground of the Western economies and Western capitalistic culture. They don't have a clue of what homes are like, what families are like, what women are like, and what children are like. That's why you would find America spending $3.5 billion in 3 months on pornography and brothels, sex industry. And yet they claim to be Christians. But one of the biggest budgets in the country is actually pornography. And inside that pornography, I'm not even including drugs. I'm not including human trafficking. I'm not including body parts harvesting. And it's all happening in the alcohol abuse. And it's the whole filthy bucket, which is the backbone of the American economy. Because all those politicians, after they finish saying all the nice things in parliament, on their way home, where are they going? Where are they going? All those bishops and pastors, when they finish preaching and cursing demons in the mighty name of Jesus, when they are going home, where are they going? And you will be shocked that this industry on its own is actually the culture of the capitalist. So I think that maybe you can talk to some of your friends. My visa is still valid for the next 6 months. I would love to come and have one show, one full show, proper 3-4 hours seated, no interruption, talking about the values of African culture, the African family in the past, in the present, and in the future. Where are we coming from? Where are we and where are we going? What have we lost? What can we still recover? How can we build nations of the future? And I think it's quite a critical conversation. Please put that on your diary. Farmers of Thought with Shanice and the codes. We can actually carry a full discussion into the Caribbean and the European community. Beam it around the world. Technology is now good. Even if we don't go to London, I can come to Gambia. You're in Gambia, is it? Where are you?
Gambia. Yeah.
We can even come to Gambia.
Yes,
we can even come to Gambia and we sit down and we record it properly, and then we can beam it across the world. Our people will always find good information somewhere. So it's not necessarily a trip into Europe. You can come down south to Zimbabwe. I can come up, or we can meet in a neutral venue somewhere. But I think, please put that on record. I would like, before the end of the year, we have recorded a 3-hour full session on from birth, the birth stools, the medication around birth, the roundabouts, the birth canals, the tools that were used in the olden days, the vaccination of children, the girl child, the boy child, passage, rites of passage through their teenage years, menstrual periods, their wet dream issues into their puberty era and their womanhood, their marriage rights, marriage itself, childbearing, sterility, infertility, replication, duplication, support structures in terms of barrenness and etc. Move over into parenting of the children, slip over into grandparenting, and ultimately looking back as a parent at where I'm coming from. It's a beautiful. I can actually see the show in my head. We could drive quite a very, very critical amount of data, which is not anywhere on social media, which becomes a learning space for our African family.
Yeah, that would be awesome, because it's one thing to talk about the problems and the challenges that we have and that we're experiencing as a people, but very importantly, as you've just outlined there, we need to put in place the solutions to our problems so that we can be bringing forward generations, future generations that are going to have a culture in place, that are going to have a mother and a father in the house that know their role, that know their responsibility, and can make a way for our children to become successful despite all of the external challenges that we are faced with and face as a people. And so we got to try and make that happen. Definitely. So that's on the agenda, family. Shall I quickly look in the chat and find out how our audience is doing? Yeah, Sheriff Esther says, serious, it's needed, long overdue. A visit to the Gambia, Jano. Okay, so we've got someone who's saying maybe we should have that event in the Gambia, and they will come over here to the Gambia. So how many more of you would be willing to come to the Gambia if we were to organize, this seminar and a series of seminars and training sessions here in the Gambia? Or would you prefer if we had it in, what's our new name? Please, what's our new name?
Rundonda is London.
Rundonda. So is it Rodonda or the Gambia? Sonia M says, yes, please come back for more of your precious talk that we learn and pass down to our generations. It's so important, isn't it? You know, because otherwise, where else are we going to get this knowledge from? You know, we don't really, I mean, what sort of culture do we have in the UK as descendants of, you know, Africans who were kidnapped and put on the plantations and then, you know, then sent, you know,
and for those who are Christians, there's a
yes.
passage somewhere where the Bible actually says, when you go into those foreign lands, do not adopt the abominable ways. Do not do the things, the wicked things of the land in whence you have been captured into. I think it's in Jeremiah chapter 20, 29, somewhere there. Where don't learn and adopt the wicked cultures of those people. And these cultures have become a source of pain, a source of death, sicknesses, poor health, family breakdowns, hobos on the road, prostitution, and etc. Because we have adopted the ways of the West. And I think while we're in the West, before you can even think about coming to Africa, some of you, we don't even need you here. You will be a nuisance here because you want to bring some of those lifestyles,
bad ways,
into some of those wayward ways, if ever there are ways, into the African continent. So when you're coming to the continent, please be gentle with us. Can you come here to learn rather than impose the Western culture on us? Don't tell us when you come here, I want my wheat bix with yogurt and what and what. No, we'll give you leftover sadza from last night. Please accept it. You know, we'll give you what we have, because that is part of the decolonization. But if you bring your colonial mind into Africa, then you have become part of the colonizers, because by imposing the culture of the colonizer on the African, it's perpetual coloniality for us. So when you come here, can you come to learn? Remove your shoes. Remove your shoes. Leave your perfumes. We'll give you some lemon and you put under your armpit if you think they're going to be smelling and etc. Don't bring your toothpaste. We'll give you some roots that you can chew and they can whiten your teeth also. So come prepared to learn. Don't come to impose because you can speak English and your English makes you think that you're superior. We are older than the British Empire. We are older than the European Empire. And our rituals, which have given us our spirituality of a much more superior quality to the Catholic Church and all the other religions of the West. So only those with open minds can hear what I'm saying. But those who are coming here on holidays and they want a steam bath here and there, and they don't know why you're steaming. We only steam during certain seasons and during certain programs as a ritual for certain things. We do mud baths for certain programs and certain things. We do. So you are doing everything, but it's out of context. It's like people eating oranges for 12 months in a year. No, if you want to eat oranges, see when oranges get ripe. That's when they must be eaten. And the only best time to eat oranges is in winter. And that is the time when flu is hard. And vitamin C must be increased. But no, with Western technology, you're going to be eating oranges throughout the whole year. Eat oranges in season, eat guavas in season, eat apples in season, eat olives in season. And when you manage to get into that cycle of diet, of life and seasons, you may just find that you and Mother Nature are now in harmony. And that's where our spirituality is. It's our deep understanding of those sciences that gives us a superior language over the Western colonial system, which gets you in trouble and tries to fix it with another problem. We would rather work in terms of systems.
There's so much that we have learned that we have to unlearn, those of us in the diaspora. We have to, you know, unlearn everything that we've learned so that we can relearn, you know, that which has been stripped away from us. And you're right, many of us have come to these lands and we've, you know, taken on the colonial culture, you know, their ways, and it's ruined and wrecked our families, our relationships, our generations are suffering. Yeah, when our parents came to Britain, they came with their culture from the Caribbean, but they were indoctrinated into believing that their culture was outdated, unsophisticated, it was backward, it was uncivilized, and that we, their children, should adopt, you know, the foreign culture, which we shouldn't have done. And, you know, it's turned us into, you know, the monsters that they are. And now, you know, we are, you know, struggling to shake off as a people. And so we really do need the sort of program that you're offering, that you're talking about, where we can start to relearn again now a culture that we can immerse ourselves in. And you've given us a culture from the womb to the tomb, as the Al-Kabalan would say.
That's a beautiful, actually, that you can use that as the theme, from the womb to the tomb, and the journey between two wombs, because the womb is a womb, the tomb is a womb, from one realm of the spiritual world into the physical world, from one realm of the physical world back into the spiritual world. And our understanding of the cosmological value of women becoming the bridge between the two realms of eternity. Come on, let me talk now. Between the two realms of eternity. Two times that never meet, but they are present in today. I am a combination of the past and the future, and I'm eternal. And I don't know where I'm coming from. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm present and I'm here. And in one hand, I hold the past. In one hand, I hold the future. And in me, I can determine and make decisions that can affect my future generation. That's the responsibility of humanity. When someone asks you, why are you alive? I'm alive to reconcile the past with the future in the present.
Now we know why we're alive if we didn't know before, to reconcile the past with the future in the present.
Now you understand when I say I'm the watcher from the future, living with you in the present, with solutions from the past. That's what I'm trying to say all these 10, 15 years. You people cannot still hear me. Let me say it one more time. I am a cable of time between two eternities, past and the future. But in the present, can we make sense?
Absolutely. And, you know, that's why maybe for some of us, we say it's so important to learn from the past, because then that will inform what we do in the present to make a better future for our future generations. So, okay. Let's see what we've got going on in the chat. Yes, two families becoming one, Sister Betty is saying. Yeah, we need to make it work for our children, for our future. Yes, indeed, sis. And let's go down. Sounds of music in the house saying yes, that they can hear us. Sheriff S in the house, rise up. I preferred cubies to church and would get licks every strong. What's going on there? Kate Safar saying, Shanice and the chat, take a listen to the hip-hop song Fetus by rapper Nas. He's a Black first brother who raps about the journey of being born and his mom's womb. Okay, that sounds like a good theme song for our event that we're talking about. And, you know, let us know what your thoughts are as well, family, about what we need to be doing to be building stronger families. What's the situation where you are? I know some of you are watching us from America. We've got brother in Bermuda. We've got family in Europe in the chat. we're talking about building our future generations and getting our mind right, getting ourselves centered again, and the important role of the woman in all of this. I mean, back in the days as well, didn't we have, matriarchal societies where, it was the woman's bloodline that the kings would come from, and the women had a more important role in terms of running those societies back then. But now we have, because since the Roman times in particular, and the Europeans, since they've been on the scene, the patriarchal society, where it's the man, who's running the world and running society. And I don't know, but for me, I feel that has contributed to some extent, certainly in the Western world, towards some of the problems that we have, because I believe if the woman is in her right mind, then the family should come first. The woman should be concerned about her home, her husband, her children, making sure there's food on the table, that they're well educated, that they're going to be safe when they go out. The woman, first and foremost, it's the family, and then the man, as the protector and contributing to providing for the family. But we're in a Western world and a Western society where the men who seem to run the world are so into power and domination that all they're interested in is control and land and stealing and wealth. And I mean, how do we coexist? I mean, how do we as a people who are into humanity and nature and reproduction and life in all of its different forms coexist with those who are into domination and control and power and stealing the wealth and everything that you own? And somehow we've got to build a coping strategy and mechanism into our culture now, because we've seen by not having a protective, or by not having those safeguards in place, we have become subjected to their domination. So is this something that you feel that we ought to be looking at as well, Your Highness, when we talk about and we do our training among ourselves as a people, how we go forward, building our villages and our communities?
It is altogether a skewed view of power, where the European, who is a barbarian, okay, who's a barbarian, who are the Vandals, who are the Ostrogoths and the Visigoths, who are there's another name I'm looking for, this Gothic, cruel, head chopping, bringing heads home as trophies, kind of.
The Neanderthals.
The Neanderthals and Neanderthals, but the particular name I was looking for amongst the Gothic and etc., and among the Vandals, and but barbarians would be the best, the closest I could find.
The Germans, the Germans.
Even in Europe, even in Europe, in Britain, yeah. So that culture on its own, which had no value for women, no value at all, where it was all about men, chauvinism, and etc. And the British and the royalties of Europe and modernity legislative framework is coming from that background. And you can see that in their behavior and their appetites for war. Men must prove their chauvinism by how many other men they've killed. Them, Trump, Biden, Clinton, Obama. You can come back to Boris, you can come back to Tony Blair, you can go through the whole European Historical Archive, Germany, Leopold. And you can see a trail of proving your male chauvinism by how many people you've conquered, how many people you've killed, how many. Tell me, who would walk into Namibia and decapitate 25,000 men and force the women and the children to remove the hair and the skin on their husband's head and dry those heads and bring them over to the German embassy? And if you don't, your head was also cut off. And then a ship is organized to transport those heads into Europe and come to the royal house of Germany and present 25,000 heads of animals as trophies of war. And the whole parliament, the army, the orchestras, and the choirs would sing and ululate in celebration that a man brought 25,000 heads of human beings. Britain, same thing. 15, 30,000 heads in their museum, including my grandfather, who is there. And they drink wine for their rituals in those heads. And this barbaric behavior becomes the basis of the Roman Dutch law. And they want to tell us, Africans, what is a family, how to marry, how to divorce, who has custody over the children, who has custody over this, who has the right to the property, who has the right to what. And you look at these speakers of people who don't even know who their mothers and their cousins are. Men who would sleep with their mothers and fathers. Women who would sleep with dogs because their men have died at war during World War I and World War II. And they want to come and tell me today who is the man and who is the woman. Sometimes, as Africans, I think we need to start thinking and be more critical. The fact that it is speaking English doesn't mean that it is civilized. Actually, in some spaces, your culture is more civilized than the magistrate court and the bill of marriage or the marriage certificate they can give you. You need to understand that your culture with what it represents and what it is telling you must do. It is a science of preservation rather than a barbaric, old-fashioned way of running families. I make lots of comments on my page, and I think you have been there 1,000 times, and you see young boys and girls lacerating me left, right, and center, telling me you're taking us back to the past. We are now in the future. We have nothing to do with the past. It is because of people like you that we are not moving forward, you know. And I listen to all that stuff and I say to myself, if only you knew that where you are going, I'm coming from there. Where you are coming from, I am coming from there. Where you are, I am. I fully understand. We cannot divorce our culture and tradition for colonial, puffy cherries on the cake, icing on the cake. I want to know what is in the cake. What is the basic ingredients of this thing you ask? You cannot just say, don't taste, the cake is beautiful, just taste the icing. No. Can I get into this cake? Let me find, is it a carrot cake? Is it chocolate cake? Is it coconut cake? Let me find out exactly the ingredients. So you cannot test a cake by the fluffings and the icings. And the culture of the African cannot be determined by the ice and sugars of entertainment. The values, family construction, ancestral lineages, land ownership, totem, lineages, maternal and paternal relationship, rites of passage, sanctity of land, culture of food, agriculture, business transaction, moral obligation, oath of truthfulness and honesty. And put all these things in a basket and you tell me that's barbaric. Then if that's barbaric, then why are you in prison and you are arrested for stealing? Because you looked values, your values. Values. Why are you divorced? Values. I think this seminar, I really want to do it. If people are really keen, we can put a proposal, we can do it in Burkina Faso.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
And the president of Burkina Faso can come and open it for us. We have access.
Oh, wow.
We can make that happen. We can kill two birds with one stone.
Family in the chat, would you join us in Burkina Faso? Oh my gosh. Let's make it happen. Oh, wow, wow. So we've got such a huge job to do, haven't we, family? You know, we've been talking about the important role of the woman. And, you know, we started off by asking the question, is there, you know, an agenda against us as African women to stop our reproduction? And, you know, we've gone on to talk about, you know, all of the externalities that have been impacting on our culture and therefore on our family, and how we need to restore our culture, rebuild our families so that we can rebuild our communities and our societies. And it key to all of that, you know, is the woman and the man and the culture and our values and everything, you know, getting that all back together again from the womb to the tomb. And we're going to be continuing this conversation and this discussion face to face in either Burkina Faso or the Gambia. So keep it locked, family, but we're going to make it happen. Let's just quickly acknowledge some of you in the chat as we prepare to wrap up. Sheriff S, rise up, saying that's even better. Yes, revolutionary spirit is coming on there. Burkina Faso, it is, says Sheriff S. Kate Safar, speaking of the role of the women, where is the lovely Afijamo today? Hopefully she's doing well. I think I did see her in the chat very early on, but maybe she's not with us still. Rise up, Sister Afrijamo, every time. Yes, names have been thrown out, the Vandals, the Vikings, yes, the age of the Aquarius, Saturn, someone saying the vultures. Yes, I like that one. The vultures. Yes, indeed. Rise up, rise up.
I was looking for the Vikings. You can watch any movie about the Vikings and you'll understand the British.
And a lot of that, sad to say as well, is stolen history and their narrative and their interpretation. Because when we go back into the old ancient books, we find that there were a lot of Africans who were among the Vikings, and a lot of their narrative and their spin and their culture has basically been used to claim some of our history for themselves. Because these people didn't have a history. They came out of the Caucasus Mountains with no history, no culture, no language. And so they had to steal everything where they went. They stole the land. They stole the heritage, the cities that the people had built, their language, their names, you know, their castles, their homes, the grand theft. You know,
that's why we named them Pambe Fumi, which means tomb raiders and thieves of other people's wealth. Pambe, Pamba, is to disable, to steal, to rob, thuggery way of acquiring wealth. Kupamba. Pambe for me is the new name for Britain. Pambe for me. The plunderers of wealth and tomb raiders.
Appropriately named Pamba Fumi, and they've
Pambe.
done that.
Pambe.
Pambe
Fumi.
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 Pambe Fumi. Pambe Fumi. I like the sound of that. Pambe Fumi. All right, that's the new name for Britain. Pambe Fumi. Yeah, the tomb raiders, the land thieves, the thugs that they are, and they would celebrate that name as well because that's how they see themselves. And oh my gosh, didn't our people get it from them when we were growing up and when our parents first came to this country? But that's a whole nother show. Your Royal Highness, Joshua Mapanga, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. You've given me a job and a half to do now. We've got to plan, you know, an event somewhere in the world. And it's going to be an awesome 3-day or so conference, seminar, learning and relearning and re-immersing ourselves in our culture. And then we're going to bring this knowledge of our culture back and we're going to spread it across our communities because we've got to undo the damage that has been done. And the only way that we can undo the damage is by replacing, you know, that damaged, warped culture that we've adopted with one that worked for us for thousands of years. We thank you so much, Your Royal Highness. You know, let me just allow you a moment or two to leave some departing words.
Sorry, the energy would have been a bit low. I've been on the road for 2 days. I'm a bit tired, but I try to pick up myself and get some strength to drive the show. But I'm very confident that from the few words we've shared, someone tonight could have been helped and assisted. And I'm building a village in Zimbabwe. And if anyone on the channel wants to plant a tree, wants to build a house, wants to put a street and name it after themselves, wants to become part of rewriting history, they can get in touch with you, and you can get in touch with you can get in touch with me, and we can make that happen. But anyone from the Caribbean, anyone from Europe, which is now called Europe, I named it Varombi, which means the sorcerers. Anyone from Varombi, from the Caribbean, who is coming to Zimbabwe, accommodation, food, and your upkeep is on me. Is on me. All you can do, just get a ticket. Please don't tell me you are at the airport, because I also travel quite a bit. So, but if you can tell me ahead of time, I can make arrangements with my team. I have a 20-hectare farm, which we are developing. There is enough food there. There's accommodation there. There's fresh water from the well, from the belly of the earth. And I'm still putting it together. So if you want to contribute, you're welcome. If you want to come and see for yourself, you're welcome. If you want to come for a holiday, you are welcome. So I'm extending but before you invest in Africa, maybe it's nice to experience it first.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that wonderful invitation. Family, you heard it. We have to take up that invitation. So we've got some traveling to do.
You must come. You must come. Don't just say family. We must do a broadcast from the farm. You come. You just bring yourself. I have cameras, I have Wi-Fi and everything else. You just come, and then we can do one broadcast. If I'll meet you halfway. If you pay your ticket coming down, I'll pay your ticket going back.
Thank you so much. I will be taking you up on that invitation as well. So I've got some traveling to do. Family, we've got some traveling to do. Start saving from now. We're heading to the continent. We've got some learning. We've got to relearn that which has been stripped of us as a people, because we've got our community to rebuild. for the sake of our future. King, thank you so, so much for your energy. You say your energy was low, but it's been awesome. Thank you so, so much. We'll be in touch. More love, more strength, and all the best. Family in the chat, thank you so much. Bye for now. Have yourself a wonderful night. Stay strong and powerful, everybody. One love.